Take on the day, this is ABC's Nightline. After Kimmel, late night on ABC.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Money. Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going.
News special report.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Moran in Washington, D.C., and we're coming on the air right now for breaking news. There are reports of an active shooter on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. We're told there are multiple injuries. That's a law enforcement source telling us that. No specific number at this point. There's a very heavy police presence on the scene. Students are being told to shelter in place. An FSU Alert notified students that the shooting happened near the Student Union building on the campus of Florida State. The FBI is assisting local authorities at the school. Let's go to ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky. Aaron, what have you heard? What do we know?
The shooting seems to be centered, Terry, on the FSU campus at that Student Union building. That's in the center of that sprawling campus in downtown Tallahassee. At the same time this shooting was unfolding, we were told Tallahassee police were actually conducting a drill with loud noises. We wondered if there may have been some confusion, but our sources tell us a shooting has been confirmed on the campus of FSU. There are multiple injuries. We're being told at least 3 have been injured. There may be more than that. We don't know the severity of those injuries, but shots have been fired, and the authorities are converging on campus. And students we've seen have been running from the area near the Student Union. The alert from FSU that went out to the campus told students who were not near the Student Union to stay put, to shelter in place, and stay away from windows, Terry.
And at this point, Aaron, is there any indication that this situation is resolved, or is it ongoing?
We're not sure that it's fully resolved. The posture of the police, as you can see there on the screen, appears to be more relaxed than it was. But we've gotten some conflicting information about the status of the shooter, so we're not prepared to report any of that yet. But it does seem a bit calmer. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, whose truck you see there, sent a statement just a moment ago saying they are actively engaged in dealing with the situation there on the FSU campus. So it does seem to be still at least somewhat active, Terry. All
right. Aaron Katersky, thank you very much for that once again. Law enforcement sources telling ABC News that there is a shooting on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. As Aaron Katersky just reported, there are multiple injuries we are hearing from law enforcement. We'll keep on this story. Our coverage now continues on ABC News Live and on abcnews.com. And Linsey Davis will be back with the entire team for World News Tonight. I'm Terry Moran in Washington, D.C. Have a good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
We're in artillery position about 2 miles away from Gaza.
And ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Traveling with the president to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here in London today.
Off the coast of Gaza.
Downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii. Some areas are still smoldering.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines.
The ruins of Rafah.
From the FBI.
Reporting from Capitol Hill.
In western Portugal. Outside of Mexico City.
In Iceland. Let's go.
Here in France.
The eclipse across America.
Just stunning.
Unbelievable.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere because the news never stops.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the Dahmer you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with a camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice?
I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer, only on Hulu.
Hello, I'm Terry Moran in Washington, D.C. We have breaking news at this hour. An active shooter has been reported at Florida State University in Tallahassee. The FBI is assisting authorities there, and a shelter-in-place has been issued as police respond to an active shooter call at the student union on campus. You can see some of the police activity there. Very heavy police presence. A video shows students also running across a street near the campus. All of this centered on the student union there. Our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, and former FBI special agent in charge, Richard Frankel. We have more with them. Aaron, first to you. What do we know at this hour?
We know that shots had been fired. The call came in for activity near the student union in the middle of the Florida State University campus in Tallahassee. That seems to be where all law enforcement activity is concentrated. We've seen students running from the area, and an alert went out from FSU to the campus telling people who weren't near that student union to simply stay in place, shelter in place, stay away from windows as the investigation began. We don't know the status of the shooter just now, Terry, but we are told there are multiple injuries as a result. There are at least 4 injuries. Some people may have been transported to the hospital. We don't know the severity of those injuries, but at least some of them seem to have required transport to the hospital. There are a ton of emergency vehicles on scene and still very much an active investigation, Terry.
The Memorial Hospital has confirmed that they are receiving patients related to the incident that we're looking at here at Florida State University in Tallahassee. This incident, the alert to students to shelter in place went out at 12:02. That's just over an hour ago. And let's bring in Richard. The FBI already on the scene there assisting. So what's the federal role in this situation? What still may be an ongoing situation? We have not heard that it has stopped at all.
Yeah, so the first role is to assist local law enforcement in stopping the shooter from hurting, shooting, doing anything against either civilians or other law enforcement. So they will assist tactically if needed, going after the shooter. When you get to these active shooters, based over because of what we've learned over the years, law enforcement and whoever it is, local law enforcement, state or federal, will move forward to the command post and then go immediately from a tactical command post to engage the shooter if that shooter is still active. And that means going and finding him or her and then doing whatever needs to be done to stop that shooter from hurting anyone else. If it means firing and shooting at the active shooter, they will do that. If it means negotiating with the shooter because he's not actively shooting at that point, they'll assist with that. Law enforcement, federal law enforcement, FBI will bring negotiators with them. They'll bring tactical, and they'll also bring the intel element that's going to try to figure out who this guy is and why he's doing what he's doing.
And they were on the scene so quickly, Richard, and I wonder, it's a college campus. Are there special challenges for the FBI, for all law enforcement, given that there's, tens of thousands of students on the campus of the University of Florida, Florida State University?
Yeah, it's Tallahassee. There actually is a office of the FBI not that far from the campus. That's probably why they were able to get there that quick. Law enforcement, of course, local law enforcement got there immediately. But making sure that the students either stay where they are, in other words, lock down, don't open the doors, stay away from the windows, don't come out and gawk, to see what's going on. They want all the students to remain safe and secure. And if some of the students are in the area where the active shooter is, they don't want them to get in the middle of what the active shooter might be doing and law enforcement is doing. So again, they're going to tell the students, if you're able to stay secure, do not do anything other than that. And then law enforcement, like I said, is going to move as fast and as quick as they can to where the active shooter is and stop the threat. That's what the goal is, stop the threat.
Got it. Thank you, Richard. Aaron, I guess it is still an ongoing situation. Another alert has gone out from the administration at Florida State University telling students to continue to shelter in place. So this perhaps out of an abundance of caution or perhaps because it is a continuing confrontation there.
And we don't know which, Terry, but one of the presumptions that investigators will make at the outset is that there may be more than one shooter. Now, we don't know that for sure, and we haven't heard reports to that necessarily, but that may be one presumption the authorities are making until they can definitely rule it out. They are undoubtedly going from building to building, checking on different people, different students, seeing if the shooter ran, where he or she may have gone. So there's still investigative work to do in addition to recovering whatever shell casings there may be on the ground. And so they want to keep the foot traffic down. We did see some video of students, bolting from the area and being told to otherwise shelter in place, and that's going to continue for the foreseeable future, it seems, Terry, there at FSU.
Absolutely, and this is also, as you say, you can see in these pictures there the students fleeing from what obviously was a very frightening situation. And Richard, I guess the priorities here are stop the shooting and second, find out who's injured?
Yes. It's always going to be to stop the threat, because while you do want to deal with those injured, anyone who might have been shot or injured in any other way, you don't want further catastrophes to happen, further people being shot or injured. And so law enforcement actually will go past anyone who's injured and go to the threat to stop that threat. As they move forward, there could be a secondary group that comes behind them with EMTs, members of other fire safety organizations, the fire department, and they may come behind, the police and FBI to deal with those who are injured. But you're 100% right. Deal with the threat and then deal with basically the aftermath of the threat. And that also includes, as Aaron was saying, evidence collection, identifying where this person went, what he did, who was his initial target, who were his secondary targets, and why did he do what he did.
Well, Richard, let me follow up on that. Does the fact that there are multiple injured here tell you anything about the nature of this crime? What are you looking for if you're on the scene and you hear that there are multiple gunshot victims on this campus?
Well, you want to find out, did he engage, did he shoot somebody initially first and then went to others? In other words, his main target was the first person or maybe the second person, but that initial shooting. And then once that is done, he continues on to just kill or attempt to kill whoever he can. And so you're going to look at, his progression along the path of his shooting. And while that's being done, all that information is going back either to the command post that's on campus, maybe to the FBI office, maybe to the local law enforcement offices, and the intelligence analysts are then taking all of that and putting that, into the system and trying to find out what is the connection between the shooter and the people who have been shot, and also what is his other connections to that campus. Is he going from point A to a specific point B? And can they get ahead of him to stop him from getting there? So that's all happening behind the scenes, as you also have your tactical team locating and stopping the threat.
Got it. Victor, we're going to go to our Victor Oquendo now, who is reporting from Miami. That's where he's based. But Victor, what are you hearing?
Terry, that is a school, Florida State University, that I have visited many times over the years when I was younger and I was in college, to having to work there professionally. That is a massive, it is a sprawling campus. If this did happen at the student union in the middle of the day on a Thursday, I can't imagine how many students, many teachers, how many people would have been around that student union right now. Last check, Florida State University is still telling their students to continue to shelter in place. And telling people, obviously, not to come to campus right now. Checking in with my sources in that area right now, there's not much else that we can add at this time. We've all seen the same reports, the number of people injured. Still waiting on an update exactly on the condition of the shooter right now, Terry.
All right, Victor, thank you very much for that. And Aaron Katursky, this is still with the university still sending out a shelter-in-place alert, not a situation that has been resolved, at least to the satisfaction of university officials, so that people can go about their business. We do see people on the street in this live picture, but in general, this is a campus still on lockdown. It
sure is, Terry, and may continue that way for the foreseeable future as FSU still urges its students to stay where they are, to shelter in place, to avoid the student union area, where an alert went out a little more than an hour ago of reports of an active shooter in and around that student union at the center of the FSU campus. We saw students bolting from that scene, other students urged to shelter in place as they're still urging. We do know that there have been multiple injuries. An area hospital in Tallahassee says it's actively receiving and caring for those who have been injured at FSU. The numbers have not been specific. We've heard that there are at least 4 injured. We don't know the extent of those injuries, but we know that some of them did require transport to the hospital. We don't know whether they were shot or whether they were injured some other way, Terry, so it's still not clear exactly what has gone on. The posture of the police appears to have relaxed a little bit from some of the images that we're seeing, but that doesn't give us a full indication that this is resolved.
And as of right now, based on that, there is no suspect in custody, or do we not know that at this point?
I've heard conflicting things about the status of the shooter. There's some reports that the shooter is in custody, but we haven't fully confirmed to our satisfaction, Terry, so we can say with certainty we're still continuing to report that out.
All right, Aaron Katursky, thanks very much. We now have an interview, a brief sound from one of the students on that campus. Let's listen in.
I was parking my car, walking back, and as I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to. I just hope everyone's okay, and I hope that we can just do better precautions so this doesn't happen again. And I just feel awful for the students on there having to go through these emotions right now, dealing with scared for their lives. Right now, they're still on campus, they're on lockdown right now. They just said they're scared, they're in lockdown, and they just want to go home.
Well, you can hear in that student's voice and in her account what has happened at Florida State University in Tallahassee. This is an active shooter situation. Students have been told for more than an hour. The first alert went out at just after noon Eastern Time for students to shelter in place. That was reinforced 10, 15 minutes ago. We have reports of multiple injuries. School shooting, it seems, certainly, as we heard in the voice of that witness, another tragedy. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
We heard what appeared to be gunfire. The former president rushed off the stage.
Hurricane Helene ravaging the coastline of Florida.
It's moving really fast, screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story.
His news breaks live.
We hear the small arms fire around us.
We're right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
ABC News Live is there for you at the start of your day, all morning live. ABC News Live, right there, as events unfold across the day. ABC News Live, breaking down the day's top stories.
Lyle and Eric Menendez, there is new evidence in this case.
ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
Are you going to build it back up?
And ABC News Live, lighting up the weekends.
With breaking news and all the latest pop headlines.
Happy Oscars Sunday.
A lot to watch for tonight.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Now you can listen to a podcast version of 2020, available free wherever you listen.
Okay, come on, let's go. This is a film about the friendship we share with our pets.
Yes!
I rescue cats for a living. I really do feel like we need each other.
Without them, I don't know where I would be. Love is love is love.
It was really nice to have this constant companion.
I'm sure they love me, but they can't love me more than I love them.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast.
Tuesday night on ABC.
You could still feel the murder in the house.
Why would you murder two innocent women? What would possibly be a motive?
Could the murder somehow be tied to interest in the occult?
Bad Romance, Tuesday night on ABC.
I'm Robin Roberts in Southern California, covering those devastating wildfires. Wherever the story is, we take you there. You are streaming ABC News Live.
So we continue our coverage of that active shooter who has been reported at Florida State University in Tallahassee. There are multiple sources telling ABC News that at least 4 people have been injured. The FBI is on the scene. They are assisting local police and authorities. And a shelter-in-place alert has been issued campus-wide to the 40-some thousand students at Florida State University there as police respond to this active shooter call. So I do want to get to Aaron Katersky right away. Aaron, what are you hearing?
We're hearing that a suspect has been taken into custody. We are not clear, Terry, that is the only person that may have been involved in this or why that individual was taken into custody. But we have heard now from multiple law enforcement sources that one person is in custody. There are multiple injuries as a result of a shooting that appears to have been focused near the Student Union at the center of the FSU campus. It happened at 12:02 p.m. Eastern time, so a little more than an hour ago. Students were seen bolting from the area. The campus sent a couple of alerts now, Terry, urging students to stay where they are, to shelter in place, stay away from windows while the investigation unfolds. But we do hear now there is one person in custody, whether this is the shooter, a shooter, someone involved tangentially, we haven't been told. But that gives us an indication that the worst of it may now be winding down, Terry.
Right, with a suspect in custody, as Aaron reminds us that they will continue to look for accomplices or confirm that this is the shooter. I want to go back to Victor Oquendo, who is so familiar with this campus. And Victor, as Aaron just said, that this was focused on the Student Union, which is an unbelievable target for anybody who's ever been to a college or has loved ones there. That is a very vulnerable place, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's in the center of campus, very popular. You've got, a ton of restaurants in there. I believe it was just renovated too. It might even have a bowling alley. This is a very popular place, and I can only imagine how busy it would have been the middle of the day when this happened, just after noon on a Thursday. I'm also hearing a lot of the same things that Aaron just reported as well on my end. I cannot definitively confirm this, but I'm also hearing multiple reports that the shooter may have been suspected shooter, may have been wounded as well. I do not have that confirmed just yet, but I should tell you there are multiple reports of that. Still working on that one, Terry.
Got it. Victor, thank you very much. Let's go to Richard Frankel, former FBI agent, special agent in charge. And, Victor, suspect in custody. That's good news.
Yeah, that's great news. But as Aaron and Victor both said, that's not the end of the tactical part of this investigation. And it's actually just the start of the investigation itself. So FBI, law enforcement, they're going to be going out and making sure that this person, if he is in custody, he was the only shooter, that there is not a secondary shooter who is either hiding and waiting for everyone to get their guard down and then to come out, or that there was a second shooter during this incident. So they're going to be looking into that as they move forward. They may be speaking to the shooter himself. They may be talking to other witnesses. They're going to be following the trail of where this shooter started and where they were able to take him down. Then they will continue on with the actual investigation of finding out who he is, why he did this. Was there anyone else that was involved at all? Anyone who helped him, prepped him, maybe drove him to the school? Who knows? But they're going to be looking into every aspect of this guy's life to see why this was done and how he did it.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. As that process continues, I want to go to the White House. There, Selena Wang is there with word from the administration. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's the Attorney General of Florida before becoming the Attorney General of the United States. What are you hearing, Selena?
Well, so far we've only heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi. She is posting the following on social media. Quote, the FBI is on the scene at Florida State and we are in communication with agents on the ground. Our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more, praying for all. The president has been gathered with his top officials. They've been meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy to hash out trade deals. And any moment now, he's going to be in the Oval Office with a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy. And no doubt you should expect reporters to ask the president about this and to give us an update. But as of this moment, we have only heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi. We are waiting for the president to go on camera along with the Italian Prime Minister to hopefully give a further update there.
Absolutely. Selena Wang, thank you very much. Every president, since Columbine, has had the official order of his business in the White House interrupted by incidents like this. We'll hear if we hear anything from President Trump, and we'll bring it to you live. We're going to take a quick break and continue after that.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed.
Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland, from Poland once again tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. Do you think you'll ever be able to go back home? We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Splintered houses and splintered lives. The magnitude of the devastation. You're streaming ABC News Live. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Raleigh, North Carolina, the U.S. Capitol, Mayfield, Kentucky, Minneapolis, Mexico, Tongass National Forest, Alaska.
Getting you behind the stories as they happen, giving you a front row seat to our world as it plays out in real time, live.
ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights, America's most honored streaming news program, only on ABC News Live. Streaming free right now wherever you stream your news.
Huddle up, Team GMA! Larry, we're right here.
Oh, sorry.
We're right
I got
here.
excited.
GMA wants to know who's the best coach in your community, in your child's life, who's made such a huge difference, because we're on the lookout for.
Are you ready to find the best coaches across America?
GMA wants to know about the impact of a dedicated coach in your town, so scan this code, nominate your favorite coach right now.
Let's honor the best coaches in America.
Thank you, Coach.
Whenever news breaks.
We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
In Rolling Fork, this tornado tore through this town.
Lewiston, Maine.
The scene of a horrific mass shooting.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
Reporting from Pacific Palisades, California, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
And we continue our coverage at this hour of the active shooter incident at Florida State University in Tallahassee. The latest is that there is a suspect in custody, we are hearing. There are also multiple injuries from a school shooting at the Student Union on the campus of Florida State University. Multiple injuries and the order from the school authorities, the remain-in-place order remains. Shelter-in-place order remains in effect on the campus of Florida State University. Let's get to Aaron Katersky, who is tracking this so closely. Aaron, what else do we know?
In addition to a suspect being in custody, we hear there have been multiple people injured, and a local hospital is confirming, Terry, that they are caring and actively receiving the injured. The severity of injuries has not been made clear, nor the specific numbers. It seems to be about 4 so far that we hear. Whether they were all shot or whether they were injured some other way was not immediately clear. So we're still waiting, but at least some of the injuries required transport to the hospital. With a suspect in custody, we're not clear that that's the only suspect, what this person's role may have been, whether it's the shooter. That's still unfolding and part of the investigation. But in the meantime, with all of these open questions, FSU is asking people to not only stay away from the student union, where it appears these shots were centered, but also to stay in where they are, stay away from windows, and just let police do their thing for the foreseeable future there on campus in Tallahassee, Terry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aaron. And you can see from this live picture, a beautiful day in Tallahassee, interrupted by a shooter on the campus of Florida State University. We want to go to some sound that our affiliate there has been picking up, interviews with students at Florida State. Let's listen in.
I'm still shocked right now. This happened a little over an hour ago, so it's still hitting me as it happens. This is like a big event that has never happened here on campus within the last, I don't know how many years, so it's definitely shocking to me right now.
Absolutely. And you told me that you're not from here, you're a second year. Did you ever imagine something like this could happen to you?
I mean, generally, Florida State University is a very safe campus. I know they have a good amount of police presence. This is, you know, like a devastating accident that could happen anywhere, wherever you are in the United States or anywhere around the world. So you just have to always be wary and don't expect anything to go good all the time.
So for the most part, you say all your friends who you know here, everybody's safe for now?
Right. All my friends, I made sure to call them, text them, make sure they're okay. Some of my friends are still on campus in lockdown. They have the university on lockdown for a few hours now until they make sure everything's settled. But it's all around campus, all around College Town. Just make sure you're inside and safe.
Yeah, and even though everybody was told to kind of hunker down, what made you still want to come out here and check on your people?
So I was nearby and I knew some friends that were on campus, so I came by quickly to make sure that they're okay, to take them away from the university if need be. I just don't want anything to happen to them, so I thought safety for them is my first priority.
Absolutely. Anything else that you want to say about the situation?
My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone. I hope everyone stays safe and nothing bad happens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. So we're going to continue monitoring the conditions here. I mean, again, a heavy presence, law enforcement coming.
All right, that is our affiliate there in Tallahassee, listening to students obviously traumatized by what's happened on the campus of Florida State University, this shooting. Multiple injuries from a shooting at the student union right at the heart of that campus. And we are now going to go to our Richard Frankel, who is a former special agent in charge at the FBI. And Richard, I come back to this fact that the FBI on the scene very quickly, really within the hour, assisting local law enforcement and authorities in getting control of this scene and beginning the investigation. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, in certain parts of the country, it's great that we have these resident agencies. They call them RAs in the FBI. They're in many of the capitals, state capitals, but also other towns and cities throughout the U.S. And it makes it easier for the FBI to respond to immediate situations. And in this case, you know, you have, I'm sure, a couple of squads there. As soon as it went out, there was an active shooter. FBI agents, just like local law enforcement, go to the scene and right away, we've all been taught you go to whatever the tactical command post is. If there is one set up, if there's nothing set up, you basically set it up, and then you go in and locate the shooter as soon as possible. You stop the threat as soon as possible. That may mean engaging him, with firepower. It may mean negotiating with him. It may mean, engaging with him physically. But you're going to do whatever needs to be done to stop the threat and save those innocents who are still on campus. And as it moves forward, you're going to want to make sure that this is the only active shooter. This is the only person who has fired a weapon on campus. And you're going to continue that part of the investigation until you're sure that there are no other active shooters, there are no other threats, and that everyone can move about campus freely and safely.
Absolutely. That's the highest priority, and they're getting on the way to that, it seems, right? The shelter-in-place order remains in effect at Florida State University. I want to go to Victor Akendo right now. First, we should say that county officials in Leon County, where this is located, are saying they will hold a press conference soon, and we will bring you that live. We're also waiting on the President of the United States, who is meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy. Reporters will be in the Oval Office soon. We should hear something from him as well. But, Victor, is this a campus that is known for gun crime, for danger on campus, or are we looking at something different here, do you think?
I don't think that this is the norm for any campus, Terry. Like this is definitely a unique and a tragic event there. Just imagine how busy the student union would have been in the center of campus. There are, between 40 to 50,000 students that attend Florida State University. That is a massive school. The student union is a huge building. And keep in mind, this also happened just down the street from where Governor Ron DeSantis lives and works, Tallahassee, to the state capitol. So far, from what we've heard from the governor, put out a statement on Twitter saying thoughts and prayers are with the students and law enforcement at the scene right now. What I can tell you from what I'm hearing from my sources throughout the state, multiple people injured, at least 4, as we've seen. Those numbers can change, especially in the early minutes and hours of a shooting like this. Going back to when I was on the scene minutes after the Parkland school shooting, I remember still hours later watching students running away from campus, reuniting with their parents. Those initial moments are incredibly frightening, and there's a lot of misinformation that goes around. That's why we're being so careful on what it is that we report right now, Terry. But we have from multiple sources right now that a suspected shooter, is in custody. I don't know. I've also, this is not confirmed. I have heard that they are wounded, but no update on the condition right now, Terry.
All right, Victor Akendo there. Thank you very much. I want to go now to Florida State University student Daniela Streety. She is joining us by phone and is sheltering in place now. Daniela, thank you for calling us. I appreciate it very much. Hope you are safe. And tell us what happened, what you know.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, so right now we have been escorted by law enforcement into a building not far from the student union. They did eventually put us in the basement. They then tried to move us to top floors, but then there was a room where they found supposedly 2 men, and they vacated us back down with our hands up into the basement as they began to search the 3rd floor lab rooms, because we are in the science section of campus. So I don't know what is to come to that right now. We are just all waiting anxiously on what's about to happen.
And did you see or hear any aspect of this incident?
I did not initially hear gunshots or was in the union when it happened, but I was in the building across the street. There was people who often work on my floor that were outside when it occurred and ran up to the 3rd floor as the sirens to take shelter were going off in the building. That's when we decided to take shelter, and the room I happened to take shelter in that was locked happened to have windows where I could see the union and the Caraway building, where I saw at least two students injured and a lot of law enforcement come in and students running out of the union to try to go to safety.
So, Daniela, you did see injured students there and outside the union?
I did see at least one. The law enforcement took that person out on a stretcher and laid them in the street until EMS showed up. There was one person across the way that seemed to get escorted in an office chair with wheels, and they got wheeled down to the street to then get treated. I don't know the extent of these injuries. I wasn't able to see it that well.
Got it. And you were there seeing people fleeing that scene, you yourself looking for a safe space?
Correct.
And what are you hearing right now? What are authorities, school authorities telling you anything about this suspected shooter who is reported to be in custody?
Yeah, so that is the first of me hearing that. We haven't really been told much right now. I think the focus has just been to try to get as many students into one guarded area as possible. I last heard I was on the 3rd floor of this building, and then they immediately took us back down after they had to do a search. They had several law enforcement officers with snipers ready to break into one room because they saw people in there and weren't sure who they were, what they were doing, and if they were also a possible connection to this. But I haven't heard anything else after that.
So, Daniela, this is a frightening experience for you. It's a lot to take in. How are you doing?
I'm a little better now. At first, when I was on that floor and all that was happening, and they were immediately escorting us back down to stay back, I got emotional. It then got really scary for me at that point, because you never knew what was going to happen or what's behind that door that is 50 feet from me, and what is capable of behind that door if there's anything.
Of course. And Daniela, we are looking at the video that you shot. Looks from a window, that window in the upper floor of the building you were in. as that area is being secured.
Yes, that I know of, it's been deemed secure. The law enforcement went to every single floor and told us to all get out of the rooms, hands on our heads, escort us out of the building, and we're all in another building right now in one place.
All right, Daniela Streety, we really appreciate you calling us up. Call your parents, of course. I assume you have.
Yes.
And,
yes, I have reached out.
Stay safe. Call us back if you'd like. We appreciate both your video and your reporting.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we're going to go to our Department of Justice reporter here in Washington, Luke Barr, with more on this shooting at Florida State University in Tallahassee. Luke, what can you tell us?
Well, the FBI Director Kash Patel has just been briefed on the shooting. He posted on X that his team and I have been briefed on the shooting at Florida State, and our FBI Jacksonville team is on the ground assisting. He says that they will provide full support for local law enforcement as needed, and is asking to keep the FSU community in their prayers. And also, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who said he's flying back from LA, has also been briefed. So you're seeing now, Terry, federal law enforcement get involved on this incident, and certainly are on the ground in Tallahassee assisting local police at FSU.
Luke Barr there reporting on the activities and the response of the Department of Justice and the FBI. FBI on the scene, as Luke says. And I want to go back to the White House now, and our Selena Wang, the president, in a meeting with the Italian prime minister, and he is about to have reporters in the Oval Office answering questions. But, Selena, I guess you have a statement from the White House on this?
That's exactly right. Just moments ago, the White House press secretary sharing the following statement that, quote, the president has been briefed on the shooting at Florida State University, and the White House is actively monitoring the situation. As you said, any moment now, reporters are expected to be allowed into the Oval Office. The president is supposed to be sitting down with the Prime Minister of Italy. That was actually scheduled to start more than 30 minutes ago to talk about trade and tariffs. This comes as we've also received statements from Attorney General Pam Bondi. She, of course, is the former Florida Attorney General. And Pam Bondi says this in a statement. She says the FBI is at the scene at Florida State, and we are in communication with agents on the ground. Our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more, praying for all. This also comes as we are hearing from the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who said that the Education Department is actively currently monitoring the situation, thanking the first responders at the scene. This also comes on a very busy day for this White House. The president was earlier gathered with his cabinet along with the Prime Minister of Italy. But of course, this is now coming to the forefront of the president's attention, and we're expecting to see him on camera any moment now.
All right, Selena Wang at the White House when he does speak. Well, we'll be coming back to you, I'm sure. We are also awaiting Leon County officials, the county where Florida State University is located, have said that they will be holding a press conference on what has happened there. This shooting incident soon is over here. We'll bring that to you live when it happens. And just to recap, just minutes after noon Eastern time today, a shooting incident began on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, centered on the union, the student union there, which was full of people, also people sunning themselves in the lawn outside. As you can imagine, there was panic afterwards. Police say one suspect has been taken into custody, and there are reports of multiple injuries, people being injured and taken to local hospitals. Let's go to Aaron Katersky, who's been following this so closely for us. Aaron, what have you got?
Well, we do know, Terry, that with the one person in custody, that does seem to have relaxed at least some of the initial tension from the moments when the shots were fired about an hour, 45 minutes ago at the student union at the center of the FSU campus. We've still not been fully made clear who the person in custody is, whether it was the shooter, believed to be, but we're still double checking, and the status of those who may have been shot. The area hospital, the closest level 1 trauma center, says it's treating several patients from the scene. We know of at least 4 people that are injured. These numbers do tend to fluctuate, Terry, and could likely rise. And we are also waiting to hear from police the status of others. You can see in the images on your screen the concerned faces. People who were nearby were told to get away from windows or to shelter in place. Police went building to building, floor to floor, perhaps looking for a suspect, perhaps looking to see if anybody was hurt. Terry, there is in this country now, sadly, a playbook for how to conduct these types of investigations and how to respond to these types of incidents, to stop the shooting, to treat the injured, to conduct an investigation.
Absolutely. Every police department and institution in the country is ready to respond to these incidents, given their familiarity. So is the President of the United States, President Trump, in the Oval Office just moments ago speaking about this incident.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later. In the meantime, it's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Italy with us. Prime Minister Meloni, who's doing a fantastic job. I would say that.
All right, there's President Trump with a brief statement on the tragedy that has unfolded at Florida State University in Tallahassee, saying it's unfortunate that these things have to happen. They happen more frequently in the United States than anywhere else in the world, and what we are dealing with today is this active shooter on the campus, a little afternoon, opening fire at the student union marked there, right at the heart of campus. Students fleeing the scene. Multiple injuries, we are told. One report saying 4 have been taken to a hospital. We have had an eyewitness tell us that she saw 2 people being taken away, injured. And there is, according to police, a suspect in custody. So let's go to our Richard Frankel, former FBI special agent in charge, on where things are from here. We hear that there are still students sheltering in place and still police combing through what is a giant campus.
Correct. And this is going to take a while. So I don't see the shelter in place being fully lifted for quite a while. They may do a rolling release where they can start letting students out under escort of law enforcement and get them off campus. But what you're going to see is law enforcement going room to room. I think the student had already, who was on, had already said that they were doing it in certain parts, but they are going to be going literally from room to room. They're going to be going into the furnaces, up into the attics, and everywhere in between to make sure that there is no one hiding and no secondary issue, like a device of some sort that the shooter might have put down there. So they'll be going room to room, making sure that everyone is safe and secure. And also during that no one else is injured as they do the search of the campus. At the same time, I believe they're going to try to identify where this shooter lived, where he resides, and go to that location and make entry into wherever this person is living, and see what evidence, what intelligence they can gain there. There have been times where there have been secondary devices at these residences of the shooters. So they're probably going to go there and execute a possible search warrant, go in there with maybe a bomb dog or some other tactical entry to make sure that there is no issue, no danger where this person is residing.
All right, an exhaustive effort to make sure this campus is safe. Richard, thank you. Let's go back to Aaron Katursky with more on the injured. Aaron, what are you hearing?
As expected, Terry, the numbers do fluctuate. We're now hearing from the local hospital. They are treating 6 patients from the scene of the shooting on the FSU campus. 1 is in critical condition. The others are in serious condition. So at least 1 person critically injured after what was reported to be an active shooter on the campus near the student union. And we've been also speaking to parents of students who are obviously freaked out by what they're hearing from their kids. One man told us that his daughter was at the student union at the time. She thankfully dropped her stuff, ran from the building, grabbed another girl, and then started, calling her parents. So you can imagine how frantic a scene this was. 6 people injured, according to the local hospital, one of them critically, Terry, with a suspect now in custody.
All right, Aaron, thank you for that update. Now, 6 reported injured in this shooting on the campus of Florida State there in Tallahassee, and the effort to secure that area expands. Leon County School District is currently on lockdown, and that's 42 schools in that county on lockdown right now, roughly 6 within a mile of where this shooting took place. Pre-K through 12th, all the students in lockdown. They're off the playground inside their campus, and that is what is going on in Leon County as the search for making sure that the Florida State campus is safe. Let's go to an interview with another student at Florida State who joins us now.
I was parking my car, walking back, and as I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to. I just hope everyone's okay, and I hope that we can just do better precautions so this doesn't happen again. And I just feel awful for the students on there having to go through these emotions right now, dealing with feeling scared for their lives. Right now, they're still on campus, they're on lockdown right now. They just said they're scared, they're in lockdown, and they just want to go home.
They just want to go home. That is the feeling, obviously, on a campus in lockdown after 6 people have been injured in that shooting. Let me go to Luke Barr, who's covering the FBI and Justice Department for us. Luke, what are you hearing?
Well, we're hearing that multiple law enforcement agencies are working this scene. According to the Tallahassee Police Department, classes are canceled, according to Florida State University, and we've just heard that the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, Tobacco, is on scene, assisting with Florida law enforcement and assisting with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and Tallahassee Police, along with the FBI. So this is really a all hands on deck operation. As we've seen time and time again in these situations, law enforcement from every agency, local, state, and federal come together to sort of help out with the response in these situations, Terry.
All right, Luke Barr, thank you very much. Once again, just to recap, little afternoon, an active shooter on the campus of Florida State University. There are 6 people reported injured, and the suspect is in custody. Police, law enforcement across the board, including the FBI, securing that campus. Let me go back to Richard Frankel. As we heard from Luke there, Richard Frankel, the former special agent in charge who joins us on incidents like this, federal government's going to be very involved here.
Yeah, it probably is a state matter in the sense of, if anyone is injured, anyone is killed, there will be murder charges, assault charges done within the state. However, federal law enforcement always assists local law enforcement in these matters. ATF is going to be running the guns immediately, finding out where they were purchased, if they were purchased legally, etc. They're going to be doing everything related to the weapon or weapons involved. And then FBI is going to be assisting with tactical if needed, but also with intelligence and the investigation. So looking at who this person is, where this person came from, what the motives are, why this happened, and assisting, if it goes to prosecution, assisting local law enforcement with the prosecution. And again, this may go federal, depending on what charges are brought. And if so, then the FBI would be working with the federal prosecutors and bring this in federal court.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break now, and we will continue with our coverage of this shooting at Florida State University right after. Stay with us.
the news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
We're in artillery position about 2 miles away from Gaza.
And ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Traveling with the president to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here in London today, off the coast of Gaza.
Downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii. Some areas are still smoldering.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines,
the ruins of Rafah.
From the FBI.
Reporting from Capitol Hill. In western Portugal.
Outside of Mexico City.
In Iceland. Let's go.
Here in France.
The eclipse across America.
Just stunning.
Unbelievable.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere because the news never stops.
It was a kidnapping, torture case.
A crime of greed and cruelty.
The men tortured the victim by beating, tasing, and burning him.
And this is where it gets really horrible. The guy was cutting off my roommates. It was like a bad dream.
This crime was horrific.
He's a psychopath.
How could you possibly defend somebody like that?
This was a story about greed, sadism, evil.
Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert, only on Hulu.
Gilead doesn't need to be beaten. It needs to be broken.
God has a plan for me.
Punish the wicked!
Gilead shall endure.
What's happening?
Rebellion. If we let them get away, it's over.
Rise up and fight for your freedom!
And we're continuing our coverage of the breaking news out of Tallahassee, Florida, shooting on Florida State University campus. 6 injured, hospitalized, 1 suspect at this point in custody. Police and the FBI and local law enforcement throughout Leon County continuing to lock down that campus and surrounding schools as well. Here you see pictures of the trauma that has been inflicted, the psychological and spiritual trauma that has been inflicted on this school on a beautiful spring day. Shots ringing out, students fleeing the scene at the Memorial Union right at the heart of campus. And we have heard of 6 injured. And I want to go to Aaron Katersky, who has been following this so closely for us, for what you have on the latest, Aaron.
Right now, we know that a suspect is said to be in custody. Terry, we're still not sure the nature of that suspect, who it is, what connects him or her to the incident at Florida State University. The local hospital told us they have treated 6 patients. 1 is in critical condition. The others are in serious condition. So that has upped the number of injured. And we're still waiting for local authorities to tell us more. We've heard from some eyewitnesses and the father of eyewitnesses there on the campus. One man told us his daughter was right there at the student union when shots were fired. She was very close to the shooter, apparently. She thankfully had wits about her to drop her stuff and run, grab a classmate and run, then call her dad to figure out what to do. We've heard from other eyewitnesses that police went floor to floor in different buildings, looking undoubtedly to see whether anybody was hiding, but also to see if anybody was injured, clearing those buildings by instructing students to put their hands on their heads and move quickly out of the building. Florida State has set a number of alerts, canceling classes for the remainder of the week, but also telling students if they're not out to shelter in place, stay away from windows and let law enforcement try and sort out what has gone on now about 2 hours ago, Terry.
That's right. This incident, Aaron, thank you, happening just after noon when the first shelter-in-place alert went out campus-wide. Shots ringing out, students fleeing the scene, and the wounded quickly being taken to the hospital. Reports right now of 6 wounded, and now that painstaking effort. Let's go to Richard Frankel, former FBI special agent in charge, on the activity that we're seeing in live and that we have seen as well. There were police on the roof in one of the pictures we just saw, trying to make sure that this campus is 100% safe.
That's correct. Even though, from what we've heard, they do have the shooter in custody. they're not going to let that stop them from making sure that the entire campus is safe and secure. Because you never know if there's a second shooter or if maybe this person put devices out on campus and is waiting for everyone to relax, and then they go off at a later time. So you're going to have law enforcement going through probably most, if not all, of the campus, which is huge, and going literally from the basement to the attic and then up to the roof, every room, making sure that there's no danger in there and that everyone in there is safe and secure and that there are no injured. So that's going to be going across campus probably for the next hour or more because it is such a big campus. And again, they're doing that because they need to make sure that there is no further threat. What you don't want to do is say everything's safe and everyone comes out, and then you have a secondary shooter or a secondary device that goes off.
Yeah, and Richard, I guess it must be a very difficult job on a college campus where there are students, and they're students. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they think they've had enough of shelter in place. They're going to be out and about. We see some of them in the pictures that we see. They have to make sure who everyone is and make sure that they are not only keeping the campus safe, but keeping the innocents safe who may wander into the work they're doing and pose a threat momentarily. They've got to maintain discipline and focus.
Correct. What you don't want is all of a sudden for there to be a perceived threat where there is none. And so somebody could get injured. It will take focus away from where they should be. So if there are students walking around and they're able to leave campus, they should be leaving campus. If law enforcement comes in and says, hey, listen, we're going to have you come out, but we want you to put your hands above your head until we know who you are, that is for your safety and security. So do that, because what they want to do is make sure that a bad guy, a shooter, did not actually, somehow weave his way in and is now hiding with all of the victims or the innocent students there. So they're going to be making sure that whoever they're releasing, whoever they're letting off campus, is not one of those shooters. And again, they want to make sure that anyone who's coming onto campus is safe and secure. So the better part of today is stay off campus. If you're off campus, there's no reason for you to go to on campus. And if you're on campus and you're being released, get off as quick as you can. Let your friends, let your family know that you're safe and secure, and then go about your business wherever you can.
That's great advice, Richard Franklin. As you describe it, such a difficult task, even though we have not had any reports of shots fired since the initial volleys just after noon. Securing that campus and making sure that in securing it no one else gets hurt is a real challenge. Let's go back to the White House. Selena Wang reporting there for us. Selena, we did hear from the president just a little while ago.
We did, Terry. The president is currently in the Oval Office in a bilateral meeting with the Italian prime minister. He addressed the subject at the top of that meeting. He said it's a tragic situation and said he's been fully briefed on the situation. Take a listen to what else the president said here.
From the Florida State University, Tallahassee, active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later. In the meantime, it's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Italy with us.
So you saw the president there. He is surrounded by his top officials. That meeting was intended to be about trade and tariffs with the Italian prime minister, but the White House said earlier that the president was being briefed on this matter, so that meeting with the Italian prime minister in the Oval Office was actually delayed. Now, we've also heard from some of the president's cabinet secretaries. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is the former Attorney General of Florida, she had the following post saying, quote, "The FBI is at the scene at Florida State and we are in communication with agents on the ground. Our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more, praying for all. We've also heard from the Education Secretary, who says that the Education Department is closely monitoring. They are also thanking the first responders on the scene. And the FBI in a statement says that they are working with local law enforcement. As we continue to see the day play out, we will be watching closely to see if the president again addresses the public on camera.
All right, Selena Wang, thanks very much. Let's go to our reporter covering the Department of Justice, Pierre Thomas, our senior justice correspondent, has covered so many of these. And Pierre, when you look at what's happened at Florida State University this afternoon and the government's response, the Justice Department's response, what are you seeing?
Well, my sources are saying that this is a tragic event. We have reports, can confirm reports of multiple people shot and injured. We are waiting on additional information, but I'm getting some indications that it may be more difficult than that. We're not going to report that information just yet until we get additional specifics. As you saw, the Attorney General, who is from Florida, has been posted. The president has been made aware of the situation. The FBI is on the scene assisting. They have been going basically, room to room, building to building to make sure this incident is contained. We believe that one person is in custody associated with this incident. And Terry, as you noted, we see this in terms of mass shootings are a part of the American landscape. They happen with frequency, so-called mass shootings in which 4 or more people are injured. And also this particular time of year, Terry, is when law enforcement is already sort of animated and anxious about, because we had the end of the Waco siege happened on April 19th. The Columbine shooting, high school shooting, happened on April 20th. And also the Waco standoff ended, and also the Oklahoma City bombing all happened on April 19th. So this is a time of year, for whatever reason, and sometimes these events, are sometimes related, other times they're not. We're still waiting details on the reasoning, the motive behind the shooting. But it's every man, woman, law enforcement in the region, they are trying to, get the scene under control, help the injured, and also begin this investigation that will be pretty massive to figure out who the person is or people and why they did it.
All right, Pierre Thomas, thank you very much for that report. This is a serious situation. Pierre is suggesting that what he's hearing is that it could get more serious as the facts develop. Let's go to Brad Garrett with the FBI for so many years and with us for many years as well on these incidents. Brad, one of the things that was striking was to see very quickly not just local law enforcement but federal law enforcement on the scene there.
And that's actually, Terry, as you well know, routine because we have, unfortunately, so many mass shootings. Agencies know what to do basically because they've trained together. And so what happens is, knowing that they may need a lot of people, they may need a lot of emergency services, they all tend to respond. And if you don't need them, you don't need them, but you may need them immediately. And it's one of the reasons that many times mass shootings are stopped quickly, because law enforcement is trained to immediately respond, and then whoever's there first, if there's a way to track a shooter, you go right toward the shooter. And so that's why this sort of goes together, and we consistently see it at each one of these shootings of multiple agencies, federal, state, city, and county, all pulled together when it happens.
Well, it's a heroic effort, and it needs to be, as we see these pictures of students walking through campus, hands in the air. How many schools, how many colleges and universities have we seen that? We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
the news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
We're in artillery position about 2 miles away from Gaza.
And ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here. Traveling with the president to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here in London today, off the coast of Gaza.
Downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii. Some areas are still smoldering.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines, the ruins of Rafah.
From the FBI, reporting from Capitol Hill in western Portugal.
Outside of Mexico City.
In Iceland. Let's go.
Here in France.
The eclipse across America.
Just stunning.
Unbelievable.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there. You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere because the news never stops.
911, what is the address of emergency? I need an ambulance. I'm dying.
You could still feel the murder in the house.
Tuesday night on ABC.
Why would you murder two innocent women? What would possibly be a motive?
Could the murder somehow be tied to interest in the occult?
I was terrified. I didn't know what was going to happen next.
Then.
The most bizarre twist yet.
She's about to break the case.
Bad Romance. The 2020 True Crime Limited Series. Tuesday night on ABC.
I've been here before. And I met something. I've never been so scared in my life. Our entire reality is in danger.
Do you think you could stop it?
They cannot. No one can.
Run! Run! What are you?
I'm ready for my life to change.
Give it your all. Good luck. Come out with the golden ticket.
Let's hear it. My goodness.
This show is for people that have the talent, have the dream, and they just need a chance.
What's good to watch? Read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America.
Get excited!
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
Gilead doesn't need to be beaten. It needs to be broken. God has a plan for me.
Punish the wicked!
Gilead shall endure.
What's happening?
Rebellion.
If we let them get away, it's over.
Rise up and fight for your freedom!
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Moran, and we want to update the breaking news that we've been reporting since around noon, a shooting at Florida State University. Police say that shortly after noon, shots rang out at the Memorial Union right at the heart of that campus of more than 40,000 students. Law enforcement say that a suspect has been taken into custody. Local hospitals report 6 are injured. At least, and law enforcement is swarmed that campus as they try to make sure that that sprawling campus with all those students is truly safe and secure. At this point, there have been no shots fired since the initial burst shortly after noon. You see students running away from the Union, a scene of panic and fear, and we will continue to bring updates on this story. It is a developing story, but we do have some other news. And we want to talk about the deportation showdown now over a wrongfully deported man continues. And what I want to get to is the Department of Justice now appealing an order from a judge that required the administration to facilitate, that Supreme Court ruling upheld it as well, the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He is the man who's living in Maryland, who the administration admits it mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The Department of Justice is releasing what they call evidence, and they claim it ties Abrego Garcia to the criminal gang MS-13, allegations his family denies. All this comes as the Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, the Democrat, is just moments away from holding a press conference. He was in El Salvador himself yesterday as he pushed for Abrego Garcia's release from a notorious mega prison in El Salvador, considered by many human rights activists around the world to be a prison where torture occurs. Meanwhile, President Trump was just asked if he plans on abiding by the Supreme Court order that he facilitate the release of Abrego Garcia to the United States. Let's listen.
Will you take steps to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is. But I will say this, we were inundated by millions of people, many millions of people during the Biden administration. They say 21 million. And a big percentage of those are criminals, serious criminals. I'm not saying just criminals because they came into the border illegally. I'm saying they're criminals at the highest level, murderers. Many of those people murdered more than one person, and they're on the loose. And I was elected to get rid of those criminals, to get them out of our country, or to put them away, but to get them out of our country. And I don't see how judges can take that authority away from a president.
All right, joining us now, senior White House correspondent Selena Wang and senior reporter Catherine Faulders and immigration law expert Frank Symphorian Saavedra as well. Selena, first to you. The president right there is saying he's not involved. Well, he has a theory of the unitary presidency, right, which is that all things flow through the president, and the Supreme Court directed its order to him and to the administration. But it doesn't sound like there's any chance he's going to start working to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the United States, which is what he was ordered to do.
And well, Terry, President Trump had earlier said that when it comes to the case of Abrego Garcia, that it's up to the government of El Salvador to bring him back. That is despite the Trump administration paying El Salvador $6 million to hold the migrants at that notorious prison. Now, Senator Chris Van Hollen, as you mentioned, he was in El Salvador. He met with the vice president of the country, and he says that he asked the vice president why they are holding Abrego Garcia, asking why they're keeping him. And this was his response. He said that the vice president said essentially that the Trump administration is paying the government with taxpayer money to keep that person here despite the court orders. We have seen that the White House is standing by their decisions, in fact, even doubling down. The president has also recently said that he would send more deportees to that notorious prison in El Salvador if they had the space to do it.
Thank you, Selena. So, Frank, do you think the administration's new evidence, which they have been releasing, a police report indicating that there was an informant who believed that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, as well as they're going into the marital troubles that he and his wife have had in the past, do you think this is going to help them essentially decline to follow the Supreme Court's order?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's irrelevant, okay? The court considered that. And the reality of this is, what is the concern with bringing him back and let the courts evaluate the evidence that they're presenting? You know, that's how the process is supposed to work. The court, the president and the Department of Homeland Security doesn't just get to decide that outright. And in regards to the unitarian executive idea, I mean, that's not what the Constitution says. There's 3 co-equal branches of government, and the courts decide what the law says.
All right. Thank you very much. Catherine, to you, the judge in the other deportation case, the one under the Enemy Aliens Act, argues that the administration's, quote, willful disobedience of judicial orders now, without consequences so far from the courts, makes a solemn mockery of the Constitution itself, quote unquote, quoting the great Chief Justice John Marshall in the beginning of our republic. So this is a contempt investigation that has now been launched by Judge Boasberg, who's overseeing this case in Washington. How's this going to play out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Terry, and I know you know so much of this. It feels like we're in unprecedented legal territory here. So the judge, of course, said that there is probable cause to hold administration officials in contempt. He gave them a week to say whether or not they are going to comply with his original order, and we'll see what the administration says about that. We already have an indication because they are at least noticed an appeal in this case. So how will this play out down the road? We know the judge has said he could call people in to take the witness stand. There could be depositions. He will call for document production, and then if the Department of Justice declines to prosecute this case, then he would appoint a special prosecutor to do that. Again, how this all plays out and what mechanisms there are to enforce a potentially holding them in contempt is a bit unclear at this point. But I know, at least from behind the scenes, talking to sources close to this, that they are in a bit of a legal pickle here. They don't really know exactly what to do next except for appeal and see what the higher courts say.
They have appealed the case. Lawyers appearing before judges are required to obey their orders, or they can be held in contempt. Catherine, Selena, Frank, thanks very much. Well, it's a day decades in the making for the Menendez brothers. The convicted murderers, Eric and Lyle Menendez, are appearing virtually now in a California courtroom as a judge considers their motion for a resentencing. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and this hearing comes despite objections from the new Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who tried unsuccessfully to withdraw the resentencing petition that was submitted to the court by his predecessor. Court rejected that. The Menendez brothers are serving life sentences without the possibility of parole for the 1989 murders of their parents. Their case has been getting new attention thanks to a Netflix series, documentary about them, and claims about new evidence that was not presented at their trial. Our Alex Stone joins us now from outside that courthouse in Van Nuys, California. Alex, there's a high-stakes hearing. I may have misspoken. The judge did not deny the motion to toss the resentencing motion, right? He's considering it. Just straighten me out here.
Yeah, so he's considering a number of things here, but we're about 90 minutes into this today, Terry, and still they haven't gotten to the resentencing portion. This is all about the comprehensive risk assessment that was done by the parole board here in California of the brothers, and can the court look at that? And the court is indicating that it wants to see the governor's report from the parole board. And Mark Garagos, the Menendez brothers' attorney, is saying, well, if you're going to see it, then we are going to put this on hold right now. We are not going to move forward. That they want to delay a number of weeks, try to get the DA kicked off of this case. There was a lot of bickering in this, saying that this is a dog and pony show, Garagos said about the DA, saying the DA has crossed the line, even saying the DA, the prosecutors, cannot read of many of the documents. And then they came back with a number of allegations about the defense. So it's been a lot of back and forth. But at this point, Mark Garagos is saying, Judge, if you look at this report, if you bring it in, we're putting this on hold and we're not moving forward.
All right. So complications, once again, they've been waiting a long time, haven't they, Alex? Thank you very much for that. We'll be right back.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
We heard what appeared to be gunfire. The former president rushed off the stage.
Hurricane Helene ravaging the coastline of Florida.
It's moving really fast, screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story.
As news breaks live.
We hear the small arms fire around us.
We're right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
ABC News Live is there for you at the start of your day all morning live. ABC News Live, right